We begin the Gemara today, Daf Ches Amud Beis, the last line on the Amud. The Gemara before explained the halacha that it said in the Mishnah, that you don't make a chasana on Chol Hamoed, and it brought a lot of different reasons here. One reason, Ein Ma'arvin Simcha b'Simcha, you can't mix two different simchas. And you can't take away from the simcha of Yom Tiv to the simcha of the Ishtay, of getting married. Another reason is because if you get married in Yom Tiv, so then people are going to be matriach, the tircha that there is, it's a tircha yiseira for preparing the things for the chasana. And the last reason was bittul peri v'ribya. People are going to push off the chasana until the time of Chol Hamoed, and they're not going to get married during the year. So the Gemara brings a braisa, a question on all of these reasons. Meisvei, it says in the braisa, kol elu shamra asur lisa b'mayed. All of these individuals, kol elu sha'amru asur lisa b'mayed. All of these that said you're not allowed to get married in Chol Hamoed, which is most of the different scenarios here in the Mishnah, right? Besides machse grushasai. So mutaren lisa erev regal, but they are allowed to get married on erev Yom Tov. Erev Yom Tov is not a problem. So the question is, kashi lakulu. According to all of these reasons, this is a question. Why should you be allowed to get married erev Yom Tov? So as Rashi explains here, what happens? You get married in erev Yom Tov, so then you have the shivas yemei hamishta, the sheva brachas on Yom Tov. So there's going to be ma'arvin simcha b'simcha, and it's going to take away from the simcha. All the reasons there should be a problem with this, and it's going to be extra tircha, and it's going to take away from piri v'ribya, because people are going to push it off to erev Yom Tov to be able to have the sheva brachas on Yom Tov and on Chol Hamoed. So how are you allowed to push it off and get married on erev Yom Tov? Answers the Gemara, no, loy kashya. It's not a question. Laman dama mishum simcha. The one that says that the reason is because you can't mix one simcha with another, or you can't detract from the simcha of Yom Tiv. Ikke simcha chad yomhu. The main simcha of a chasana is the day of the chasana itself. The other days of the sheva brachas, that's not an issue of marv simcha, but simcha, it's not at the same level of simcha. Laman dama mishum tircha, also the one that says that the problem is that you push it off to Chol Hamoed and you're going to have extra tircha on Chol Hamoed for the preparing for the chasana. Ikke tircha chad yomhu. The main tircha is also one day, the day for the chasana. The day for the sheva brachas, it's not that much of a tircha. And also laman dama mishum bittul piri v'ribya, the one that says that the issue is that people are going to push off the chasana to erev Yom Tiv and then they won't get married during the year. So l'chad yoyme l'mashi inish nafshei. For just this one day, the fact that we're allowing the person to get married this day, and then the rest of Yom Tov, he's not allowed to get married, we're not afraid that people are going to push it off to this day. So Rashi explains, if you allow people to get married Chol Hamoed, you have a couple of days. So it gives a person flexibility. I can make the chasana during Chol Hamoed, any of the days on Chol Hamoed. But if I'm making the chasana on erev Yom Tov is a very busy day. What happens if he wants to make the chasana on erev Yom Tov, and then he can't make it erev Yom Tov? Because it's too busy to do it out of Yom Tov. He's going to have to wait until after Yom Tov, another 7 days, another 8 days. So people are not going to want to push it off to Erev Yom Tov anyways. So there's no concern that people won't get married the whole year and they'll wait until Erev Yom Tov. So again, l'chad yoyim l'mashi inish nafshei. Okay. And now the Gemara goes back to what we brought before, that there's an inyan of ein ma'arvin simcha b'simcha. So the Gemara brings the source. Well, the ein ma'arvin simcha b'simcha, this idea that you don't mix one simcha with another, minala. Where do we see this? There's a pasuk that says, and this is regarding when they actually, the inauguration of the first Beis HaMikdash. So it says, Vayas shleime Beis HaYiyas HaChag, V'chol Yisrael imay kol gadol. All the Yidden together made a big celebration, and Miluvay Chamas ad Nachal Mitzrayim, the Yidden from Chamas till Mitzrayim, Lefnei Hashem Lekeinu, Shivas Yomim, and V'Shivas Yomim, there was 7 days, and then another 7 days, which is together Arba, so Yom, 14 days. And when did the celebration begin? It began on Ches Tishrei, 7 days before Sukkot. And so they celebrated 7 days before Sukkot, and then they celebrated another 7 days of Sukkot. He said, if you'll say that you could mix one simcha with another, so then why didn't Shlomo HaMelech wait with the inauguration of the first Beis HaMikdash until Sukkot? And then they could celebrate both together. The 7 days of Sukkot they could celebrate for the Yom Tiv and also for the Beis HaMikdash. So Tosfos says it would have been much better to do it this way. So like this, you wouldn't be mevatel everybody from their malacha, from their work, from their jobs, from their schedules that they had before Yom Tiv. So keep it and then we'll celebrate together the Yom Tiv and Beis HaMikdash. Huh? No, they celebrated 7 days before, from Ches until Yudalit. and then from Tezvav until the end of Yom Tov, they celebrated Yom Tov. The Shiva v'Shiva means 7 for the Beis HaMikdash and 7 for the Yom Tov. So this is the source that Ein Ma'arvin Simcha b'Simcha. Fragt the Gemara, no, it's not a raya, because V'dilme minter leina trina. Because he already finished the Beis HaMikdash 7 days before, so you can't wait until 7 days later. Once you finish the Beis HaMikdash, you have to bring the karbanos. You have a mizbeach already there. And the same thing also with a chasana. If you have the chasana already ready to be made before, so you have to make it before. You can't wait until Yom Tov. But if it would happen and it comes out that a chasana, let's say the engagement or the chasana is ready to happen, punkt dafka on Yom Tov, so maybe you could make a chasana on Chol HaMoed, avdinon, so then you do make it. And the same thing, if the Beis HaMikdash would be finished right before Yom Tov, he would make the inauguration on Yom Tov. So the Gemara says no, because if that would be the case, he should have waited. He should have left over a little bit from the building of the Beis HaMikdash and waited until Yom Tov that they could celebrate both together and not have to take away everybody's work. So he could have left over a little bit. So the Gemara, no, shiur binyan Beis HaMikdash loy mishayrinan. You can't leave over from the building of the Beis HaMikdash. When you're building the Beis HaMikdash, you have to finish it off. You're not allowed to leave off something. You have a chiyuv to come and bring karbanis, and if you're already holding by the step where you just have to finish it off. There's no eitzah to go and leave over something. So the Gemara, okay, even if you can't finish, if you can't leave something over from the building of the Beis HaMikdash, ba'ama kalya oirev. You should leave over from something that's on the roof of the Beis HaMikdash. They had over there a place, the Amma, at the end of the walls or by the roof of the Beis HaMikdash, where they put these metal spikes for the ravens not to sit over there and make the building dirty. So that place, those metal spikes that they put over there, that they should have left over. And if that's left over, it's not fully completed, but it's not leaving over in the building of the Beis HaMikdash itself. So the Gemara says, no, that's not true. This metal pieces that they put there on the roof is also part of what it's needed for the building of the Beis HaMikdash, and therefore they can't leave that over either. You have to finish it as soon as you can, right away. So the question remains that Shlomo Melech finished on Ches Tishrei, and therefore he inaugurated it immediately. But maybe if he would have finished it on Erev Yom Tov, he would have made the Simcha on Yom Tov together, and you could be Ma'arev Simcha b'Simcha. So therefore the Gemara Taka says that from here is no raya. Ela midmiyater kra. Here, this pasuk we quoted before, there's an extra thing in the pasuk here. Echdi, let's see. Ksiv, what does it say in the pasuk? Arba asayim, that they celebrated 14 days. Shivas yamim v'shivas yamim lamali. Why does it have to say that they celebrated 7 days and 7 days? I would understand 14 days means that there was 7 days from Ches until Yudalit, and then another 7 days for Yom Tov. Why does it have to say, the pasuk spell it out, Shivas yamim and Shivas yamim? Shma mina, hani luchot v'hani luchot. The pasuk wants to tell you that it has to be separate. 7 days for the Beis HaMikdash and 7 days for Yom Tov, because Ein Ma'arvin Simcha b'Simcha. Regarding that time period, on that year, the Yidden did not keep the Yom Kippur. They ate and they drank and so on in Yom Kippur. And the Yidden were worried and they said to themselves, maybe the haters of Yidden, referring to themselves, were obligated over here to be destroyed, to be annihilated because of what they did, that they didn't keep Yom Kippur. Abaska came out and told them, all of you are invited to come and designated for Eilam Haba. You did the right thing for celebrating and eating and drinking on Yom Kippur. My darosh. So what did the Yidden darshan that they pushed off Yom Kippur? So Amru Kal V'Chomer. They said, they made the following Kal V'Chomer. Uma Mishkan, if when it comes to the Mishkan, when they inaugurated the Mishkan, She'en Kedusha Kedusha Seilam. So the Mishkan itself is not an everlasting Kedusha. It was a temporary place in the Midbar. And also the Karban Yachid. There we're talking about the Karbanis Yachid that the Nesiim brought to inaugurate the Mishkan. And Deiche Shabbos. They pushed off Shabbos. The Nesiim brought their Karbanis 12 days, including on Shabbos, even though it was a Karban Yachid. The Issa Skila. So we're talking about Shabbos, which is an Issa Skila. So now Mikdash, so the Beis HaMikdash, the Kedusha Kedusha Seilam. This is a place where the Kedusha is forever. And also the Karban Tzibur. And we're talking about over here inaugurating the Beis HaMikdash for the Karbanis Tzibur. And also the Yom Kippurim, the Onish Kodesh. We're talking about pushing off Yom Kippur, which is not an Onish of Skila, but it's only an Onish of Kodesh, which is less, a lower level. The Kolsha came most definitely that for inaugurating the Beis HaMikdash, we can push off, the celebration can push off keeping Yom Kippur. That's the Kal V'chomer they made. It's a pretty powerful Kal V'chomer because there's a lot of different details here in this Kal V'chomer. So if so, the Gemara says, Ella Amayal Yudoyegim. Why were they worried that maybe they did something wrong? Answers the Gemara because they said, Hasam Tzorech Gavoya. Over there, how were they Mechal Shabbos? By the fact that they brought a carbon yachid. Usually on Shabbos, you could only bring a carbon for the tzibur. But for an individual, you don't shech the carbon. So, but the carbon that they brought is still a carbon for Tzorech Gavoya, for the Eibishter's sake. Hacha Tzorech Hedyet. Over here, they're being Mechal Yom Kippur. How? By eating and drinking for themselves, by celebrating for Tzorech Hedyet. So maybe this kind of a chilul of Yom Kippur was not allowed. Frek the Gemara, Nusa Hacha Nami, Mevid Levdu. Maybe the Taka should have done so. That the celebration of pushing off Yom Kippur by the first Beis HaMikdash should have only been with bringing karbanas, but not with eating and drinking. They should not eat and should not drink on Yom Kippur. So the Gemara says no, then it wouldn't be a celebration because you can't celebrate without allowing to eat and drink. So therefore they did push it off with eating and drinking. So now the Gemara brings the source of this whole inyan. Where do we know from that they did push off Shabbos when they inaugurated the Mishkan, that the Nesiim brought the Karbanis on Shabbos? From where do we know that by the Mishkan the Nesiim pushed off Shabbos? If you'll say that because the pasuk says Bayom Rishon, that on the first day Nachshon ben Aminadav brought his carbon, and then Bayom Shvi on the seventh day, which was Shabbos, who brought the carbon? Ephraim, and the seventh day is Shabbos. So the Gemara says no, not necessarily. Dilme Shvi leKarbanis. Maybe it doesn't mean the seventh day of the week, which is Shabbos, but maybe it means the seventh day of Karbanis, meaning they skipped Shabbos, and then on Sunday, which was the seventh day of the Karbanis, Ephraim brought his carbon. There's the pasuk later that says, B'yoim ashteyasar yoim. On the 11th day. So it doesn't say B'yoim ashteyasar, it adds again the word yoim. Why is it adding this word? So we learn out as follows. Ma yoim kulei ratzov, just like a day, the day is all one continuous day. There's no breaks in the middle of a day. Af ashteyasar, so too these 11 days here, kula netzufin. It was 11 days without a break that they brought the karbanis, so that means even on Shabbos. Says the Gemara, it's not a raya. V'dilme yomim haru'uyim ksiv. Yes, it was all continuous without any breaks. But on which days? On the days that are fit to bring karbanis. Without any break of a day where it was fit to bring a carbon. But Shabbos, it's not fit to bring karbanis for a yachid, so that day they skipped. So the Gemara says, but ksiv kra achrine. There's still another pasuk where there's an extra word yoim. B'yoim shnei masa yoim. Over here it also says yoim again. And my yoim kuli ratzav, just like a day is without a break. Av shnei masa yoim kulam ritzufim. The 12 days are all straight without any break. So the Gemara asks the same question again. Maybe it means without a break of those days that are fitting to bring the carbon. The Gemara says, no, but why do I need two psukim to tell me the same point that they brought it without a break of all the days that are fitting to bring a carbon? So Elamai, it must mean that it's coming to teach me that they brought the karbanis literally straight without any break, including Shabbos, which is usually not fitting to bring a carbon yachid. So this is where we see it when they get to the Mishkan, that they pushed off Shabbos. And how do we know, where do we see it that when they celebrated by the Beis HaMikdash there, that they pushed off Yom Kippur? What does it say in the pasuk there? If you'll say that they celebrated 14 days, which means that they celebrated the 7 days from Ches until Yudalet, and then from Tezvav until the end of Sukkot. So we see that they celebrated on Yom Kippur as well. But how do you know? V'dilme yomim haru'uyin. Maybe they started the celebration on Ches Tishrei, but they didn't celebrate on Yom Kippur. They celebrated 7 days that are fitting to celebrate, to eat and drink. And they skipped Yom Kippur, which is not fitting for this. So the Gemara, Gomar Yoim Mehasam. We learn that, we compare the word Yoim that it says in this pasuk to the word Yoim that it says by the Karbanis of the Nesiim, that by both of them they continued to celebrate without a break, including a day that would not be fitting otherwise to do so, but over here they did. And include over here as well, they ate and drank on Yom Kippur as well. So the Gemara, Yotzes Basko, we said before, a Basko came out, Va'amrulem, and said to the Yidden, Kulchem Muzmanim L'chaya Elam Haba. You're all designated to come to Elam Haba. So from where do we see in the pasuk this inyan, that there was a baskal and that the Eibishter forgave them for what they did, that they ate in Yom Kippur? The Tani Tachlife darshan, the pasuk that it says there by that celebration, that by Yom Hashmini, on the 8th day of after the end of the Yom Tiv, Shalach Hasa'am, Shlomo HaMelech sent home the people, Vayivarchus HaMelech, they benched him, Shlomo HaMelech, and Vayelchol Aleim, they went home to their tents, Smeichim v'tuv leiv, happy with glad hearts, Al Kol HaToiva Sh'asa Hashem, for all the good Eibishter has done, LeDavid Avdoi, for David a servant, to Yisrael Amai, and for the Yidden. So the Gemara will dash on this entire pasuk here. La Aleim, when it says that they went home to their tents, what does this mean? Shaholchu, they went home, Umatzu Nesheim B'tar, and they found their wives being pure, available for them. Smeichim, and they were happy. What does this mean? Shenenu miziv Shechina, that they had the benefit of the glory of the Shechina, the revelation of Shechina. V'tuvei leiv, they had glad hearts. Shekol echad ve'echad nisabra ishtoi b'ben zachar. Everybody, his wife became pregnant with a ben zachar. Al kol ha'toive, what does this mean? Sheyatzas ha'baskel v'omru lehem kulchem izmanim l'chai olam haba. This is the proof of what we said before, that a baskel came out and told everyone that you're designated for olam haba. Okay, then it says in the pasuk, LeDavid Avdoi Yisrael Amai, for David and for the Yidden. Bishleim Yisrael Amai. So this means that the goodness the Eibusha did for the Yidden. So that's the point we just said. The Achaluhu Oven Yom Kippurim, that the Eibusha forgave them for this, the Aveda that they ate on Yom Kippur. Ela LeDavid Avdoi. When it says here that the goodness the Eibusha did for David HaMelech, Mahi. What does this mean? David HaMelech wasn't even alive at that time. Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Rav, so he says as follows: B'shosh Bikesh Shlomo lahachnis es Aron lemikdash. Shlomo HaMelech wanted to bring the Aron into the Beis Hamikdash. Dafku she'arim zeh lezeh. The entrance, the gates, the doors opening, going into the Beis Hamikdash were locked, closed. They did not open up. Amar Shlomo esrim va'arba ranonis. Shlomo HaMelech said 24 different songs and all kinds of expressions of davening to the Eibishter, as you see there in the Psukim, that he begged the Eibishter to open the doors, and he was not answered. Then Pasach V'Amad, Shlomo HaMelech began saying, Su Sharem Rasheichem, that the doors should open up. He wasn't answered. Kivin Shama, but then when he said, Hashem Elokim al Toshev Pnei Mishichecha, don't turn away the face of your anointed one. And who is this? Zachar Lechazdei David Avdecha, remember your kindness, or the kindness of David HaMelech, then Miyad Nena. That's when he was remembered. So only in the schus of David HaMelech did the doors open up. So what now? At that time, Nebchu Pnei Seine David Kishulik Deira. Those people that hated David HaMelech, so their faces turned like to the bottom of a pot and it became black. And v'yadu akoil, and everybody knew shemachalei HaKadosh Baruch Hu al oisei yaven, that the Eibishter forgave David HaMelech for that sin with Bathsheba. So we see that the Beis Hamikdash opened up only in the schos of David HaMelech. That's the goodness the Eibishter did for David HaMelech. And the Gemara brings a story in connection to this that we'll bring over here, this incident, this psukim here. Rabbi Yonasan bar Asmai v'Rabbi Yehuda ben Gerim. Tanu Parshas Nedarim, so they were two students that were learning the Parsha of Nedarim by Rab Shimon ben Yochi, by their teacher Rab Shimon ben Yochi. Ifter minei borte, they took leave from him, they departed from him at night, and then for whatever reason they didn't end up leaving the city. And Letzafra, in the morning, hade kam ifter minei, they came back and they again came to take leave from him. So Amar Lahu, so Rab Shimon ben Yochi said to them, but didn't you already bid me farewell already last night? You don't have to come back again. Amrulei, so they told Rab Shimon ben Yochi, L'madetana Rabbeinu, our teacher has taught us, Talmud shenifta mirabbai, a teacher that sees off from a student that departs from his teacher, and then V'lan ba'isa ir, and then he ends up staying overnight in that city, so you should come back again in the morning and to bid farewell from him again in the morning. Shenemar, the pasuk says, by Yom Hashmini, over here by the Yidden, when they left Shlomo HaMelech after the celebration, so it says on the 8th day, Shalach esa'am vayivarchus HaMelech. So the king sent the people and they blessed the king. Now when was this 8th day? This 8th day was the end of Sukkot, that's 8th day of Sukkot, which is Chav Beis Tishrei. And then it says, the pasuk says, "Ubayayim esrim v'shloishel chodesh hashvi." Then on the 23rd day of the 7th month, Shalach Esau, that he sent the people. So when did they leave? Did they leave on the 22nd or did they leave on the 23rd? Elo, so the answer is Mikan, Talmud Anifta Mirabbai. A student that departs from his teacher, V'lam Ba'isa'ir, and he ends up staying overnight in the city, Tzarech Lepota Mimenu Pam Acheres. He has to depart from him again a second time. That's what happened. They came back to him a second time in the morning to take leave from him. That's why we came back to you again. So Rab Shimon ben Yochai was very happy with this answer they gave him. And Amalei Lebrei, he says to his son, B'nei Adam alalu, these people here are noshim shel tzurehem. These are people of stature. Zil gabeyan, go to them, delivrucha. They should give you a bracha. Azal, so Rabbi Elazar, the son of Rab Shimon ben Yochai, went, Ashkechinu, he found them, the Karamu Kroya Dodi. So he heard them learning and they were answering, they asked the contradiction of the following psukim. Ksiv, in one pasuk it says, Pales Magal Raglecha, you should measure your feet where it goes, and V'chol Rachecha Yuchaynu. So the ways that you go on will be right. So it says you have to measure what you do. Ksiv, in another pasuk it says, Oirachayim Pentafales, that your ways of your life do not measure what you do. What does this mean? Should you measure? Should you not measure? So this is talking about mitzvahs. And the question is, do you measure what kind of mitzvahs you do, or you don't? You do every mitzvah without measuring. Like Kashya, so they answered, it's not a contradiction. If there are mitzvahs and there are others to fulfill them, you don't have to be the one to do it. So then you should measure and take the opportunity to do the greatest mitzvah and not a small mitzvah. But if there's a mitzvah that nobody else could get it done, so then don't measure if it's a great mitzvah or it's a small mitzvah. You have to make sure to go ahead and do the mitzvah without measuring it. That's the answer, the contradiction of those two psukim. And he heard them also darshaning something else. And then they were sitting and they were discussing the following contradiction. In one pasuk it says in Mishlei that that Torah is more precious than pearls. And all of your possessions that you have don't come to the value of Torah. Okay, so it says chafitzecha. What does that mean? But the objects of heaven, which means mitzvahs, are compared in value to learning Torah. That's one pasuk. But exceived it. But then in another pasuk in Mishlei it says, Kol chafetzim lo yishvu ba. Any possessions you have do not equal up to Torah. Which means, even other possessions you have, including mitzvahs, also don't equal up to Torah. So, how could you answer this contradiction? So the Gemara answers, they said, if there's a mitzvah that could be done through someone else, so then you can decide to do that mitzvah, or you can decide to go learn Torah. So in such a case, we say that Torah is much more valuable. You have to go and learn Torah. And if there's a mitzvah that cannot be fulfilled through anyone else, so then you have to stop from your learning and go ahead and do that mitzvah. Okay, so this is what they overheard them learning. So then when they finished, Amrulei, so these two great Tanoim said to the son of Rab Shimon ben Yochai, my boy, Sacha, you're waiting here, what do you want from us? Amar Luhu, so he said to them, my father told me, Zilga bayu de levarchucha. We should come to you that you should bench us. So they said to him the following, Amrulei, Yehei Rava, should be the will of heaven. The Tizra, v'loy techtzad, you should plant, you should not reap. Ta'ayel, v'loy tepuk, you should bring in and you should not take out. Which means they thought that he meant to say you should bring in merchandise and you should not be able to sell it. Teipuk v'loy ta'ayil. You should spend money, you should invest money, and you should not be able to make money on your investment. Lechrev beisach. Your house should be destroyed. V'leisel v'shpizach. Your inn should be settled. Lovalvol peseirach. And your bed should be disturbed. V'loy techzi shata chadata, that is. You should not see a new year. That's the bracha that he gave them. What kind of a bracha is this? So now, after they heard this, Rabbi Elazar comes back to his father. Amalei, he said to his father, not only did he not bench us, he actually caused us pain by everything that he said to us. Amalei, so Rab Shimon ben Yochai said to his son, what did they tell you? So he said, this is what they said to me, and he repeated the whole thing. Amalei, so Rab Shimon ben Yochai explained to him, these are all brachas. When he said Tizra v'lei techtzad, you'll plant without reaping, what this means is toiled banim. You'll give birth to children v'lo yamusu, and their life won't be cut short. Ta'ayil v'lei tepuk, you'll bring in and then it won't go out, which means ta'ayil kalsa, you'll bring in a daughter-in-law for your son, and v'loi lamusa b'neich, and your son won't pass away, the lipkun, that your daughter-in-law will leave your house to go back to her father. Teipuk v'loi ta'ayil, and you'll bring out and you won't bring in, which means tailed benasa, you'll give birth to daughters, and they will leave your house to go married to their husbands, and and their husbands won't pass away, that they should come back to you. Your house will be destroyed, and you'll be sitting and living in an inn. The high alma, because what it means is this world is shpizach. This world is your inn. Vahi alma, the other world is beisach. That's like a house. There's a pasuk that says, "Kirbam batei ma'olam." Within them is your house forever. And we darshan in this, "Al tikri kirbam ela kivram." Your kever is a house. So what he was saying is, you'll live a long life, and therefore your inn will be settled. This world, which is similar to an inn, and your kever, which is a house where a person is buried for forever, so to speak. So over there, that will be destroyed. That's what he meant to say. Levalvo b'sayrach. And that, I'm sorry, I think I said before that Pesairach means a bed. I believe Pesairach means your table. Right, so your table will be destroyed by your meal. So this is Bibani or Benata, with your children, all your children that will be by your table, and they'll disturb your table. That is, and you won't see a new year. What does this mean? Your wife will not pass away, and you get married to a new wife, and then you have a new wife, and there's the Shana Rishayna, the first year, that new year you won't have. So that was all brachas. The Mashah here explains that when it said before that Rabbi Elazar came to his father and he had tsar, Rabbi Elazar knew that they're all brachas. But what was his tsar? His tsar was that he couldn't figure it out. And just from the fact that he couldn't figure it out, he had tsar. That's what he was telling his father. So the Maharsha says, why did these two Tanaim do this? Because they wanted that the bracha should go to Reb Shimon ben Chai as well. They knew if they were going to give Rabbi Elazar brachas, so then Rabbi Elazar got the brachas. He won't necessarily repeat to his father all the details. But now that he gave them the brachas in such a cryptic manner, he knew Rabbi Elazar is going to go back to the father, and the father is going to explain it to him. So now the brachas will take effect also for the father. Yeah, and the Rebbe brings this in a Sikha. The Rebbe says that the Tzemach Tzedek brings this Marsha, and the Tzemach Tzedek says that the reason why they did this is because it says in Chassidus that the brachas that come from a higher source, which is Hanestadus Lashem Elokeinu, they come down in this world, and it's said in the way of a klala, but it's really a bracha. Adarabba, this is a deeper level of a bracha that comes from a very hidden, concealed place. Sagt the Gemara weiter. Rab Shimon ben Chalafta ifta minei de Rav. Shimon ben Chalafta took leave from his Rebbe Rav. Amalei ziligabei, so Amalei he told his son, the Gerser in the Gemara, Lebrei, he told his son, ziligabei levarchach. Go to my student to Rab Shimon Chalafta that he should bench you. Amalei Rab Shimon Chalafta bench him yei Rava, should be the will of heaven, the loy tevayish, you should not be embarrassed, and the loy tizbayish, again, the loy tevayish means that you should not embarrass others, and the loy tizbayish, and you will not become embarrassed. Asa Gabei Avua, he came to his father, he wasn't impressed with his bracha. Amalei, so his father said to him, Mai Amalach, what bracha did he bench you? Amalei, Milam Balma, he just said words to me, no special bracha. Huda Amalei, he told me. Amalei, so he told him, his father told him, Birchach Birchasa, he actually gave you a bracha, the Berchan Kutshe Bericha Li Yisrael, that the Eibishter benched Yidden, and V'tonaba, the Eibishter benched Yidden twice with this bracha. There's one pasuk that says, V'achaltam achal v'savoya, you'll eat and you'll be satisfied, V'hilaltam v'goyme, and you'll praise the Eibishter, V'lo yevoishu ami loylam, and my nation will not be embarrassed forever. So you see once that the Eibishter benches Yidden, that they should never be embarrassed. And also, V'yadaitem ki b'kerev Yisrael, and you should know that I'm amongst the Yidden, V'lo yevoishu ami loylam. My people should not be embarrassed forever, so this is a very good bracha. Okay, this is the conclusion of the Agadata here. The Gemara goes back to what we said in the Mishnah. That a woman could adorn herself on Chalamayid. So what is this referring to? Taner Rabbanan and Abraisa, we learned this is the adornment of women that the Mishnah is talking about. She can put different things to make up on the eyes. Poikeses, which is regarding the hair, to separate hair, different things that are done with the hair. And mavira srak al panel, and also to put makeup on the face. V'kedamri, others say maveres srak al panel shalmata, that you place things on the lower part of the body to remove hairs. The bisu, the Rav Chiste mekashte ba'ampi kalsa, the wife of Rav Chiste beautified herself with these adornments, with these makeup in front of her daughter-in-law. The point that the Gemara is saying a daughter-in-law is to say that she was already an older woman and she adorned herself on Chalamayid. Yasav Rav Huna bar Chinana kamed Rav Chiste. Rav Huna bar Chinana was sitting in front of Rav Chiste. V'Yasav v'kamar, and he said, Lo yishanu, this, that it says that a woman could do all of this on Chalamayid, Ela Yalda. A younger woman, that for her this is something that adds to her simcha of Yom Tov, so that she can do this. Al v'zekaina loy. But an older woman that doesn't need this anymore, for her, this is not allowed to be done on Chalamayit. Amalei, so Rav Chisda answered to him, no, you're not right. Ha'alekim, I can swear, this is an expression of a shvua. Afili imach, that even your mother, vafili imo de imach, and even your grandmother, vafila imedas lakivra, even a woman that's so old that she's like about to pass away, she also is allowed to do all of these adornments on Chalamayit. The Amri Inshi, there's a saying, people say, Bas Shitin ke Bas Shit. A woman that's 60 is like a girl that's 6 years old. Lekal Tavle Rota. When they hear the sound of a bell, they run towards it. Rashi says, this means everybody enjoys good music. Whether you're a 6-year-old, whether you're a 60-year-old, whether you're doesn't make a difference. Same thing also when it comes to a woman and her adorning herself with the makeup. Whether it's a young woman, whether it's a very old woman, they all enjoy it and it adds simcha to them so they can do it in Chalamayit. It said in the Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda that a woman should not put this lime on her body, and the point is that it was one of the ways that they were able to remove hairs. It shouldn't be done in Chalamayit. So the Gemara explains, Tanya Rabbi Yehuda, Isha leitosud, she doesn't put this lime on their body, mipnei shenivul hula, because at the time when it's on her body, it's disgraceful for her. But Rabbi Yehuda would agree, if this lime she puts on her body and she's going to peel it off still on Chalamayid, and then she could put it on Chalamayid because even though while the lime is on her body, it's a tsar, it's disgraceful for her, but simchi lachazman, she's still going to take it off on Chalamayid itself, and she's going to experience the simcha of it even on Chalamayid, so that's allowed. It's only if she's putting it on a Chalamayid and she's not going to be removing it until after Yom Tiv, then it's not allowed. So what do we see from here? That Rav Yehuda holds that you're allowed to do something which is a tsar on Chalamayid because it'll bring you simcha afterwards. Fragt the Gemara, does Rav Yehuda hold of this idea that you're allowed to do something which is a tsar because there'll be simcha later? But Vatnan, we learned in the Mishnah in the beginning of Masechta Avodah Zarah. And there in Masechta Avodah Zarah, the point that it speaks about is that when it comes to the Goyish holidays, you're not allowed to do anything for the Goyim in business and selling them things and all kinds of different things that will cause them simcha in their holiday. And they'll come to praise their God because of the simcha that you gave them. Their Avodah Zarah because of the simcha that you gave them. Okay, so one of the things that it mentions over there in the Mishnah is that if a guy owes you money, so don't have him pay you the loan that he owes you right before his holiday, because then he's going to come to praise his Avodah Zarah that, I was finally able to pay up this loan. What does Rabbi Yehuda say on this? Rabbi Yehuda says, Nifrayan mehen, you could have a guy pay up his loan to you right before his holiday, mipnei shemeitzer, because it's painful for him that he has to give up this money to pay his loan. Amrullah, the Chachamim disagreed with him and they responded, no, even though while he's paying up his loan, so to take the money out of his pocket could be that it's painful for him, but afterwards he's actually happy about the fact that he finally got over his loan and he paid it up. So what do we see over here? Rabbi Yehuda holds, we don't look at the fact that afterwards it's going to cause him to be happy and he might praise his Avodah Zarah. We look at the present, right now. He's paying up this loan and it's painful for him, it's allowed. So we should say the same thing regarding Chalamayid, that right now when this woman places the lime on her body and she's causing herself something which is disgraceful for her, it shouldn't be allowed in Chalamayid, even though later it's going to cause her simcha. Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, no, Hanach leilchas Moed, the halachas of Yom Tov and Chalamayid are different. The kulu meitzer achshav, everything we allow to do in Chalamayid takes effort and pain now, and the sameach lachazman, and the happiness only comes afterwards. A woman that has to stand in the kitchen and cook and bake and everything else, it's also an effort that there's tsar involved in this, and the simcha only comes afterwards when she could sit and eat and drink. So therefore, Yom Tov, Chalamayid, we allow to do all these things that there's tsar now and simcha later. Ravina says a different answer. Kuti, a guy, le'inyin piroin, when it comes for payment, lo'ila meitzer. He's always sad about this. He never gets happy later. He's always thinking back, oh yeah, I had to pay this money. So therefore over there is no simcha afterwards. What happens if you have the Jewish girls that their bodies mature already and there's hairs that they want to remove, and they're not old enough yet and they want to remove those hairs. So Aniyah is the poor ones amongst them. So they would put this lime on the body that would remove it. Ashira is the ones that are richer. So they would do something that's less disgraceful. They had this very fine flour that they applied and it also removed the hairs. The princesses, B'shemen amayr. They used this shemen amayr, some kind of an oil that was able to remove the hairs. Shenemar, as it says in the Megillah, shisha chadashim b'shemen amayr, that they use this special kind of an oil that makes the skin beautiful. My shemen amayr, what is this oil? Ravuna bar Chia Amar sitchis. The oil is called sitchis. Rashi in another place says he has no idea what this is. Some kind of oil with kinds of besamim. Rav Yirmiyah Barame Amar shemen zayis shleiv ishlish. This is the olive oil that comes from olives that have not ripened a third. Tani Rabbi Yudaimer Ampiknun. What is Ampiknun? It says in the Mishnah that you're not supposed to use Ampiknun for the carbon mincha in the Beis Hamikdash. This is shemen zayis shleiv ishlish. This is this oil, this olive oil from olives that have not ripened a third. Why is it applied to the body? It causes hair to fall out, and it makes the skin beautiful, shining. Gemara brings an incident here. Rav Bevai had a daughter. He put lime on her body to make her skin beautiful and shining. So he did one limb at a time, not the whole body at once. It's dangerous. So then, after he made her skin beautiful, so then Shakabal Dald Meyazuzi. So the chassan that came and married her, she's such a beautiful girl, he was able to get for her 400 zuz as a dowry. So the Havahu Kuti Bishvivusei. So then there was another guy in his neighborhood that saw what he did, the Havale Brata, so he also had a daughter. Tafla B'chad Zimna. So he went and he put the lime on her entire body all at once, and Omesa, she died. His daughter died. Omar, this person said, Katla Beve Librate. Beve, I copied what Beve did, and he killed my daughter. Okay. The Gemara now says, Rav Nachman said about this, Rav Beva dishasi shichra, Rav Beva, because he was drinking beer, so therefore, Bayim Benase Tafla. So his daughters had a lot of hairs, and he needed to apply this lime to remove those hairs, because drinking a lot of beer causes the skin to be rough, and it causes a lot of hairs to grow. But Anan, the Loishasin and Shichra, but we do not drink beer, and the Farshim say, because they were rich enough that they were drinking wine instead of beer. So therefore, Loibayim Benasan Tafla. Our daughters do not have to have this to apply this to remove their hairs. Their skin is beautiful without this as well.